The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Today on BCIT Magazine, how to keep our Canada geese population under control.
Can magic mushrooms improve mental health?
And where's the line between street art and graffiti?
Hello, welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Angela Bauer.
And I'm David Natalini. Here's what's been going on in our community.
Vancouverites aren't the only ones flocking to parks this season, so the city is asking for the public's help to manage an exploding geese population. Reporter Rebecca Johnstone tells us how.
Spring is here, and so are some of Vancouver's most polarizing pests.
When they have goslings, they're vicious. And I walk my dog actually here twice a day. And when the goslings are out, you really, if they're around, you can't walk there because you get attacked by the geese.
The Vancouver Park Board estimates over 3,500 geese in the city. And with that comes droppings.
The amount of excrement, otherwise known as goose poop, is huge. And it's gotten worse and worse over the years.
Geese lack natural predators. And with more people getting outside, you can expect a little competition for your park space.
In this past year, in 2020, during COVID, we saw a 30% increase in people using parks and using passive spaces in parks. So just the lawns that you see, and that's the ideal habitat for geese, lawns with a little bit of water. So we saw increasing conflicts between humans and geese as the goose population is rising and as the number of people using parks is rising.
To reduce the problem, the Park Board is asking Vancouverites to help.
There are two key things that Vancouverites and visitors to the city, once we're allowed to have them again, can do, and one is to not feed geese. The other thing that people can do is to report any nests that you find, and there are three ways you can do that: through the website at vancouver.ca, and the other is through our Van Connect app, and the third is by emailing geese@vancouver.ca.
If you want to visit beautiful parks like this and be a little bit less cautious about where you step, those are some key actions you can take. Rebecca Johnstone, BCIT News Magazine. Our reporter Rebecca Johnstone joins us now. Rebecca, why is feeding the geese such a big problem?
The Vancouver Park Board is asking residents to not feed geese, and there are three reasons for this. The first is a large plump goose can lay multiple rounds of eggs in a season, which can increase the geese population. The second is it can promote a behavior so that geese will gather in large numbers and become aggressive or lay more feces in an area. And the last is you'll typically feed geese birdseed or bread, and these two things are not good for the intestinal tract of geese and can cause an unhealthy goose in a population. So for those reasons, they are asking residents to absolutely not feed geese.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Magic mushrooms are one of many illegal drugs in Canada. However, there is growing support for them to be legalized for medical purposes. Reporter Elijah Polson explains.
Psilocybin mushrooms have been prohibited in Canada for nearly half a century. Yet this East Van cafe openly sells mushroom home grow kits.
It is a glimpse into a future where magic mushrooms could be the next drug legalized for medicinal purposes, following the footsteps of cannabis. But there are alternative methods to taking magic mushrooms besides the regular dosage. One other method is called microdosing, where the psilocybin is taken in a portion 5 to 10% the size of a typical dose.
While illegal, with a doctor's diagnosis, you can order mushroom microdoses from this online dispensary and have them mailed to your doorstep. Both the cafe and the website are owned by Dana Larson, a well-known cannabis activist who expanded his interest in drug legalization to psilocybin in 2019.
When you're microdosing, you're taking a very small amount a couple of times a week to reduce anxiety, to fight depression, to help not be triggered by PTSD and other kind of psychological and mental benefits like that.
Dana says that thousands of his clients have reported improvement of their mental health from microdosing. The emergence of psilocybin to the public eye is well documented by MAPS Canada, a non-profit organization studying psychedelic medicines.
What I notice is popular opinion is changing with psychedelics. The more it's in the media, the more people observe that it's helpful for the treatment of a variety of disorders, the more the public starts to rethink psychedelics and get away from that 60s stuff of, the bad trip LSD stuff that happened during the 60s. That is fading into history.
While psilocybin mushrooms are still illegal to possess in Canada, there's hope that one day they'll be legalized for mental health treatment. Elijah Polson, BCIT Magazine.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, the high cost of graffiti.
And what Burnaby residents have to say about playing around goose poop. Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. The debate surrounding graffiti is a hot-button issue across the Lower Mainland. Is it a valid form of artful expression or simply vandalism? Reporter Jeremy Shepard takes a look.
In the Lower Mainland, graffiti is seen covering a wide array of surfaces, from concrete walls to garbage cans. For many of us, it's a subculture we've never truly understood.
It's just super interesting that there's this whole underground culture that's sort of out of the eye of the mainstream, but you still see it every day,
From low-effort scribbles to elaborate murals, street art encompasses a range of artistic endeavors.
But there are a lot of spots in Vancouver where, you can take 5-10 hours, however long you need, and really put a lot of time into it.
Some businesses commission artists for their work, while others pay to have graffiti covered up.
When the customer, come by this building, we say some graffitis, maybe they have bad influence for the business, maybe.
For many, graffiti artists' motives remain unclear.
Some graffitis are cool.
Yeah.
Some are very talented people who do it. But around this neighborhood, around the building that I work in, I don't see any talented graffitis. It's all pretty much just to show some kind of a rage towards the wall and people around here.
Often, the belief is that these artists' talents can be better utilized in more worthy avenues.
These guys are this skill. It's a gift, right? I mean, if you're able to draw, it's a gift. I can do it.
Art is a subjective medium, and to better understand people's motives, we must speak to them and learn from their perspective. Jeremy Shepard, BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Jeremy Shepard joins us now with more. Jeremy, is the cost of removing graffiti a big problem for some businesses?
Yes, David. The City of Vancouver issues bylaw violations to businesses with visible graffiti on the walls. The business owners are then responsible to pay to have the graffiti covered up to avoid being issued fines. However, some business owners find they pay to have the work done, and then before the paint dries, their walls are already covered again. Some business owners are hoping the city does more to address the root cause of the issue.
Burnaby residents are also dealing with a goose problem this spring. They've been polluting local sports fields and parks. As my co-anchor David Natalini found out, local residents are too familiar with this foul problem.
Gooses, geeses. Laying eggs is the last thing that Burnaby officials want Canadian geese to do this Easter. The Canada Geese Management Plan is the board's response to the growing number of geese around cities like Burnaby and Vancouver. Staff at BC's Wildlife Rescue Association say that populations will be controlled through egg addling.
The government actually allows the permitting to addle the eggs, which is destroying the eggs and allowing the geese to think that they still have a nest there so that they don't actually re-nest.
According to the Vancouver Park Board, Canadian geese don't just eat newly seeded grass, they also dig up holes around sprinkler heads and also defecate on public property. Whoa, watch out! Over in Kensington, girls soccer coach Natalie DeVita says that while geese avoid the fields during practices, the damage they leave behind is an obvious danger to her team.
Yeah, so we do notice quite a bit of geese poop on the field. It is difficult to clean and it poses a risk if any of my girls were to fall or cut themselves and get feces on their cuts and things like that.
Officials want to remind residents that feeding geese at parks is banned. But here, at Burnaby Lake, where food is given to birds by the handful, some people have yet to get the message.
Yeah, I don't think we should feed them, definitely. It's a bit unnerving here because people feed birds here all the time, and I agree we shouldn't be feeding them.
As residents continue to enjoy Burnaby's growing and diverse wildlife, officials are sure to keep a bird's eye view on the community. David Natalini in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Well, aren't they adorable?
You wouldn't say that if you stepped on goose poop like I did.
They're still cute as long as you wiped your feet before coming into the studio. Well, that brings us to the end of our show today. I'm Angela Bauer.
And I'm David Natalini. Thanks for joining us for this edition of BCIT Magazine.
Huh?